Take it away, Jeff.
Good morning. This is Jeff Weinberg, president of Caregiver Champion. And today we are going to talk about multiple sclerosis. This month happens to be the month that we recognize multiple sclerosis and hopefully make people more aware of this terrible disease that does not have a cure, and people who have this disease suffer greatly. MS causes the immune system to have abnormal responses that then damage the central nervous system. And MS actually, and I was surprised to learn this myself, can happen as early as 20 years old. And it's very debilitating. However, there are some advances with medicine that have helped control the process in terms of decline, but there's still people that do decline and literally aren't able to get out of bed. And then there's other people that clearly work and have a normal life as much as they can. And so it is an important disease that people need to be more aware of. One of the other things that I wanted to mention is that Caregiver Champion has a contract with the National MS Society. And we actually go from Pittsburgh or Western Pennsylvania all the way to Harrisburg to see people that have MS. And I have the privilege of having, as part of my team, Sherry Lammers. And Sherry used to be the director of clinical services for National MS. And she truly is an expert in the field, and she has a very positive relationship with neurologists and people in the field, and Caregiver Champion is lucky to have her. So moving on, it is really my greatest privilege to introduce Alan Iszauk. Alan is a dear friend of mine. We've known each other for a very long time. I consider him as part of my family. And Alan happens to be, and I'll let him talk about it in more detail, but one of the largest fundraisers for MS, I'm not sure in the country, but definitely in Western Pennsylvania. And I really, he is a man who has a heart of gold, and he's a person that just keeps on giving, so to speak. So with that in mind, I'm going to introduce Alan, and I'm going to have Rachel take over.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Alan. I have heard that you are a superstar in raising funds for MS, so thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thanks for that amazing introduction.
How did you get started? What made you want to fundraise for the MS Society?
It's an interesting sideline story. My first ride for Bike MS had absolutely nothing to do with MS. A dear friend of mine asked me if I could ride my bike with him for 150 miles. I thought it was crazy, but I said, if he can do it, I can do it. And it really had nothing to do with MS. It was, can I accept this challenge of a 150-mile bike ride? I was woefully ill-prepared, did not sufficiently train, and on the first day we arrived at our sleepover destination at Allegheny College. I was dying, it was hot, I was miserable, and a woman approached me and said, "I want to thank you for what you're doing." And my response to her was, "You're quite welcome, but I really need to get a shower and go to sleep." And she kept on going, and she was, it just was not registering with me what she was saying. But she was incredibly grateful, and she pointed to a wheelchair. And she said, "You know, I used to be able to do this ride. I'm spending most of my time in the wheelchair." I started to cry. She hugged me, I hugged her. And I said to my friend at dinner that night, "If we're going to do this again, let's get serious about raising some funds for MS."
I love that.
We've been a top fundraising team ever since.
Wow, that's a good
When did you begin, Alan?
I think this was 17 or 18 years ago.
Wow.
So we formed a team called the Hungarian X-Cycled Racing Team. And
I
originally,
love the name.
Originally, there were 2 of us, and I believe this year it's realistic that we will have 50 riders.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a fantastic story. So is there so the Hungarian bike riding team, that's what you're called? And there's
The Hungarian X-Cycled Racing Team.
I love it. Awesome. And how can someone get in contact with you or contribute money for the MS cause if they wanted to join and support?
I have a personal website that's available through the Bike MS website, and I'm hoping that later you'll be able to project that for me.
Absolutely. We'll put the link in the comments.
Okay, outstanding. I appreciate that.
Yeah. What else would you like to add about MS? Anything that you've learned about the disease throughout this process that you'd like to share or that you think people should be aware of?
Well, 17 or 18 years ago, there were very few treatment options. And over the years that we've been doing this and raising funds, by the research that we have funded, we have seen some new drugs. And treatment has come a very long way. One of my dear friends that rides with us, not as a member on our team, we compete, was spending most of his time in a wheelchair, and as a result of medication that he is on, he's able to ride, and I can't keep up with the guy.
Wow.
We've been very successful fundraising and occasionally beating his team, but I can't keep up with him. He's a much faster, better rider than I am.
That's amazing.
So, truly amazing. That would not have happened without the monies that we are raising for MS.
Amazing.
And I want to add to that the money that Alan raises, as well as the money that is being raised in many different arenas for MS, is for research primarily to hopefully someday come up with a cure for MS. And people don't, I mean, they take it for granted. They really don't think about it unless they have a family member or someone themselves suffering from MS. But it is truly a debilitating disease, and they need the money to be able to find out a cure for MS. I mean, it's that important. And truly, Alan is a major fundraiser, and for his commitment from going to 2 people to, would you say 51?
We're going to hopefully hit 50, 51 this year.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
It really is. Really is.
2 years ago, prior to COVID, we were successful in raising in excess of $110,000 just as the team.
Wow.
Last year with COVID, we raised, I believe, $62,000.
Wow. During COVID, that's incredible.
So people have been so incredibly generous and thoughtful. We were able, in fact, Bike MS canceled all of the organized rides last year. Our team sponsored 3 rides that we self-supported, remained socially distant, and we covered the same mileage that we normally would have done in 2 days on 3 separate daily rides. And as a result of those rides, we were successful in raising that $62,000.
Wow. So when is the next ride that you're preparing for?
June 12th.
June 12th.
And it will be a one-day ride this year. We do not have the ability to provide for a 2-day overnight and feeding everyone and lodging everyone in a safe manner. So it will be a one-day loop ride where we end up back at the start, but it will be an opportunity for new riders to participate because it's a shorter ride, and I believe there will be 2 distance options, so perhaps like a 30-mile and a 60-mile.
Amazing. Now, are there, if people are watching this video from outside of Pennsylvania, are there riding teams throughout the country that do this?
All around the country. Bike MS is the most significant fundraising arm of the MS Society.
Amazing.
And there are rides all around the country, and I'm hopeful to be able to participate in some, like perhaps the Denver ride, to see if I can challenge the mountains there.
I bet that's beautiful.
Have you done that?
I have not. I have done a few of the other closer rides to Pennsylvania, but the Western Pennsylvania Escape to the Lake is an incredibly challenging ride. Riding from north of Pittsburgh to Conneaut, Ohio, it's impossible to get there without climbing some very large hills.
I'll tell you, my parents are really into mountain bike riding, and I've went with them a few times. It is the hardest thing I've ever done. And I like to think I'm pretty fit. You know, I work out. It's so hard. So kudos to you for the challenge of it and raising all that money. It's amazing.
Well, at our age, well, you're much younger, but at my age and many of my teammates, we're in our upper 60s, and without training, it would be absolutely impossible for us to do that.
Brutal. Even with training, it's hard. Brutal.
Now, the normal ride, I don't mean normal, is what, 150 miles?
That is correct. Typically on the first day of an organized ride, they have perhaps 3 options, maybe a 60-mile option, a 75-mile option, and a century option of 100 miles. I have done the century probably 6 times now.
Nice. And can people go and root you on, like the energy of a marathon? Is there like crowds?
It is absolutely amazing as we come through some small towns, especially as we arrive in Conneaut, Ohio on Sunday morning. People line the street, they're banging on pots, setting off fireworks, handing out water bottles. It's just absolutely so encouraging and enthralling to see the crowds. It's just a feel-good experience.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for the great work you do. Is there anything else either of you would like to add about MS or anything in general?
The only thing I would like to add that I don't believe that Jeff picked up on that strikes me is that people can look perfectly well with the disease. They may be feeling awful, and it is hard to know. They don't know what the next day is going to bring. Even with COVID, we have some degree of expectation of what tomorrow is for us. For somebody that is suffering with MS, it's totally unpredictable and so difficult to make plans to move on. And that is one of the greatest challenges of the disease.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Well, with all diseases, including MS, the goal always is to try to get people to their maximum level of functioning. And that varies depending on the person and the level of the disease. I also want to mention that, since Alan mentioned it, with COVID, there was a lot of questions that we were asked about, should we get the vaccine or not, from an MS perspective. And the neurologists encourage and want people to get the vaccines. It's very important. And so if you have a question about getting a vaccine, please call Caregiver Champion and we can help and assist with that. The last thing that I want to add is that in order to get our services, which is care management, we actually provide those services free to anybody who has MS. The contract is that MS Society pays us for providing care management services. And in order to get those services, one needs to contact the National MS Society, and we'll put that phone number up there, and ask for a care navigator. And then when the care navigator will screen, because there's also other services provided along with the care management, and they may be eligible or for other services as well. So that's the first step in order to get this. But getting back to Alan and what he does, I have one last question. If somebody wants to join your team, how would they do that?
That's a great question, and I'm very appreciative that you asked it. With the contact information that you're putting up in the notes, will be a link to the team page, and there will be a little button that'll say join the team. And if you hit on that, it will provide you with all the information that you need, and we would love to have new teammates. And in our training, we don't leave anyone behind. So regardless of your level of ability to ride, we will get you to the point where you need to be, provided you do ride and have a bicycle.
Love that. Jeff,
Rachel, that may be something you can do in your spare time.
In my spare time. Honestly, I would be interested in that, but I thought you were going to do it, Jeff. I thought that's why you were asking.
Oh, yeah. I can't even walk and chew gum, so that's not going to work. One more thing, and then because Alan is really, I mean, I'm not making this stuff up either. I mean, I do know him as a dear friend, but when Alan does his practice rides, he goes through, obviously, a lot of Pennsylvania, and he describes and takes pictures of various areas throughout Western Pennsylvania and Ohio or wherever else he happens to be in. And his work, not only with the fundraising, but what he writes and what he puts in his pictures is just magnificent. I have tried to get him to actually write a book just of the touring that he's done.
Would be really fun.
Because he's a marvelous writer and he's a marvelous photographer. So if you really want to get, not only feel good about the National MS Society and contributing, once you get on Alan's list, you'll start to get all of his information about his rides and his photography. And it is just beautiful.
Very cool. I look forward to checking that out. Alan, thank you so much for all the great work you do and taking the time to talk with us. We'll put the links below. You can connect with Alan. You can connect with the team link. If you want to ride, you can join. So June 12th is the next race?
That is correct.
Wonderful cause. I encourage everybody to support it. And thanks, Alan, again for your time and what you're doing.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully you'll be riding.
Thank you, Alan.
Maybe.
Good to talk to you.
Thanks, everybody. Make sure to check out the links below, and we'll see you next time.